No. When you deal with special elections, a win is a win. First and foremost, are Democrat voters very motivated to get to the polls? Yes, they are. They're not happy with some of the things that Elon Musk is doing, going through the federal agencies, actually cleaning out the waste, fraud, and abuse that has really been damaging the federal agencies for a very long time. You see Democrat officials up here on Capitol Hill, they're upset about it. And so, yes, is the base of the Democrat Party upset? They are, and they're motivated. But when you take a step back and you look at the reality, Republican voters turned out, not to the degree of a presidential election, because that doesn't ever really occur in specials, but they turned out, and both Jimmy Patronis and Randy Fine had double-digit victories. So everything in Florida is just fine, and it's going to get better from here.
Donald Trump's tariffs are quite literally the most disastrous economic policy we've ever seen out of a president. Complete stupidity, just a moronic move from Donald Trump. But that is no surprise. What is surprising, though, is that some Republicans are turning on him, some of his most loyal stooges calling him out. But what is almost worse for Donald Trump than his most loyal Republican stooges turning on him is the half-hearted defense we are seeing out of Republicans sticking with Donald Trump. And we saw that from Byron Donalds, who tried to defend these tariffs and immediately crumbled when caught in a lie, started attacking the host who called them out. We're going to get into all of it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really does mean a lot to me. Now let's check out one of the most disingenuous Republicans out there in Byron Donalds getting called out.
A lot of jitters on Wall Street. You have seen the numbers. They have tanked several days in a row, worrying about these tariffs, and they're going down right now. The Dow futures right now is down. Do you want to see more specifics first before you assure Florida voters on how Donald Trump's decision on tariffs will impact them?
Well, listen, the president's been very clear. Today is the day he's going to come out with his package on tariff policy. What markets and what business leaders want more than anything else is just to know what it is. So in the markets, what you're really seeing is uncertainty around the fact that they don't know how the president is going to change tariff policy. Let's go back to his first administration. There was the same type of talk about tariffs. The Biden administration didn't change virtually anything associated with the tariff policy of Donald Trump. And the reason why is because what the president is making sure is that we have manufacturing in our country, that we have domestic supplies in our country, that people actually have high-paying jobs here in America associated with those industries, as opposed to just onshoring everything from Asia, which, if you go back to COVID-19, was not in the best interest of the United States. And then after that point, we have to move to a sound footing in our economy based upon real incentive structures and real private sector growth. We cannot continue the Obama-Biden ways of just subsidizing industries and increasing federal spending, which destroys purchasing power for the American people and is not sustainable. The way you do that is bring industries back to the United States and allow the American people to be a part of the economic engine, as opposed to just getting cheap goods but not having the necessary jobs in return in order to sustain themselves and to have a sustainable, growing American economy. That's what we're going to accomplish. Now, the markets might be a little skittish in the interim, but over the long term, we will stabilize out and we'll have a better foundation for our economy into the future.
Are you okay, though, with people feeling pain? They voted Donald Trump in because they were tired of dealing with the inflation that was there during the Biden administration. Are you okay with your constituents feeling more pressure and more pain when it comes to the economy as these tariffs are put in place, and then the retaliatory tariffs are also put in place? Are you okay with pain being on their shoulders for a while as this all gets worked out?
Nobody wants pain for their constituents. I don't want pain for the people of Florida.
But Donald Trump said there will be some pain and disruptions.
But you are making an assumption without knowing the details.
I'm not making the assumption. Donald Trump himself said there was pain and disruption that was going to happen.
You're making an assumption. You are making an assumption, an economic assumption right now. Let's be very clear. The real pain economically has been the massive inflation coming from bloated overspending here in Washington, D.C. That is the real pain that the American people have felt the last 4 years. What President Trump is trying to do now is bring industries back to the United States. So it's not so much pain. You might have some temporary adjustments in our economy, but that is for the growth of the American economy long term, stability and jobs over the long term for the American people and American workers. And that is actually a good way to take our economy, as opposed to following the same terrible policies of the previous administration and the Democrats writ large of just subsidizing industries and raising the debt of the United States. That is not the way that you actually build an economy. There's an old saying in finance: you can make markets jump, but you can't make them fly. And when you follow the old way, the Biden-Obama way of just subsidizing industries, yeah, you make them jump, you can make people feel good in the interim, but it's not sustainable over the long term. Donald Trump is looking at the long-term financial outlook for every American, and that's why we're starting today with Liberation Day.
Right now, the markets are lying down. They are not jumping or flying. Congressman Byron Donalds, thank you so much.
Donald Trump has openly acknowledged that his tariffs will cause both short-term and long-term pain, but he doesn't seem concerned. He has made it clear that he's willing to let American consumers bear the brunt of this tax. Trump and his wealthy associates are unaffected, and they don't seem to care about the impact on the general public. This attitude reflects the larger issue. Those in power, including Trump, are financially secure and appear indifferent to the struggles of everyday Americans. Trump's approach, while trying to project toughness, often comes off as bullying. Ironically, rather than confronting a dangerous figure like Putin, Trump is focusing his tariffs on targets like penguins. Rachel Maddow discussed this curious choice in detail during a segment.
Tired of all the winning yet? Are you enjoying all of the greatness? May I introduce you to Tokelau? Tokelau is 3 teeny tiny islands in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. That's our best approximation on our mapping software here at MSNBC HQ. Tokelau, again, it's 3 islands. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. About 1,500 people live there. One of the 3 islands that makes up Tokelau is apparently known for its famous swimming pigs. As for its economy, Tokelau kind of doesn't register on any international scale of economic measures because Tokelau doesn't really have much of an economy. It's basically subsistence, agriculture, and fishing, and, enjoying the swimming pigs. Donald Trump just imposed an across-the-board, no exceptions, 10% tariff on Tokelau. Take that, Tokelau bandits. You will screw over the United States of America no longer. May I also introduce you to the Keeling Islands. Keeling Islands are roughly halfway between Australia and Sri Lanka in the Indian Ocean. Keeling Islands is 27 islands, but 25 of them are uninhabited. Several of those uninhabited islands have a real plastic trash problem, but that is not because anybody lives there, but because plastic trash from other countries makes its way across the Indian Ocean and washes up there. The 2 islands of the Keeling Islands that are inhabited out of the 27 islands there, those 2 inhabited islands have a total population of 593 people. Well, Donald Trump just declared trade war on the Keeling Islands. All 593 Keeling Islanders will now be hit with an American government 10% tariff that will apply to, anything they might ever want to export here to us. Make it here, Keeling Islands, if you're going to make it. May I introduce you to Jan Mayen Island. It is a volcano, a volcanic island mostly covered in glaciers hundreds of miles from anything else in the Arctic Ocean. Jan Mayen, I think that's how you say it. It does have an airstrip, but nobody lives there. Population 0 humans, many polar bears. That said, rest assured, we the American people are now protected from the predatory economic piracy of that uninhabited island. Thanks to our genius strongman ruler who has put the American government to work, Donald Trump has just slapped a 10% tariff on Jan Mayen Island, just in case anyone ever moves up there and tries to screw us over with their Jan Mayen Island underpriced exports and stuff. On the other end of the world, there's Heard, H-E-A-R-D, Heard Island, and also McDonald Island. They're in Antarctica. They are only reachable by boat, and it takes 2 weeks by sea to get there from Australia. Heard and, what's the other one? McDonald Island, sorry. Heard and McDonald Island, I know I don't have to apologize. I'm not offending anybody. They're totally uninhabited, both of them. They're also active volcanoes, so even if you wanted to move there, even the penguins might caution you, right? But they're active volcanoes, one on each island, on both Heard and McDonald Islands. I will say those volcanoes and the penguins and seals who live there, they will never menace the American economy again as they have in the past by flooding us with their cheap exports of what, like fresh air, cool breezes, a waft of eau de penguin? I don't know. What do they send us? The uninhabited Antarctic volcanoes of Heard and McDonald Islands were just slapped by Donald Trump today with a steep 10% tariff. Are you tired of all the winning, America? Can you just feel the practical economic benefits that MAGA leadership is bringing to us at last? Isn't it a relief? Agence France Presse picked up on another one of these as well. This is super genius. Quote, Britain's Falkland Islands, population 3,200 people and around 1 million penguins, got particular punishment from Trump's tariffs today. Quote, the South Atlantic territory was walloped with tariffs of not 10%, but 41% on exports to the United States. 41% tariff on the Falkland Islands because, yeah. Our president waited until late in the day to announce these genius tariffs today. He waited specifically just after 4 p.m. Eastern time because the financial markets close at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and he didn't want to see that react in real time. After the markets close, there's no active trading on the American stock markets, right? But people trade in futures that indicate essentially what they think they're going to do when they open up tomorrow. This is the lead right now at CNBC.com explaining how that's going. Quote, U.S. stock futures cratered as President Donald Trump unveiled sweeping tariffs of at least 10% and even higher for some countries, raising the risks of a global trade war that hits the already sputtering U.S. economy. Futures tied to the Dow average lost 1,069 points, or 2 points.
Getting tough on penguins before getting tough on Putin. That's our president. What a joke. But it shouldn't surprise us. That's Donald Trump. That's what we have to call out every single day. We're certainly going to be doing it on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.